The body has had 8 days to dry. When you smell the body, you don't really smell any of the solvents that are part of the lacquer. And so I'm fairly confident that it's not going to shrink too much more after this. And so what I've done is got some warm water, just a couple of drops of dish soap, and then I have, all these are takeout containers. And so what I'm going to do is pour a little bit of this water into each of these cups, and then I'm going to wet sand the top, back, and sides. I have 800, 1,000, and 2,000 grit sandpaper here. I'm not sure I'm going to go all the way up to 2,000. We'll see what it looks like after I'm done sanding with the 1,000. And then after the level sanding is done, I'll do the polishing with some medium cut car polishing compound, and then use fine swirl remover for the very end. Hopefully when I'm done, this will have a completely shiny body, and then we can move on to some of the final assembly pieces. One other thing to note here is that I haven't drilled out any of the small screw holes for the bridge, for the pickup mounting rings, or anything else. I did this on purpose. I like to do this after wet sanding so that there aren't a lot of little holes here, and then water could potentially go down into them. Other people, like to do all the fabrication first. Just makes sense to me. And then the other thing is that, after I wet sand this, I am going to let this dry for a considerable amount of time, at least overnight, perhaps another day or two. Just to make sure that any wetness is gone from the body before I start doing any of the assembly. It's going to take a while, so I'm going to time lapse this, and then I'll talk about how the process is going in between. I finished my first round of 800 grit wet sanding. In the time lapse, you could see that I was using a wooden block as my level surface, and I was going in circles and straight lines. It doesn't matter when you're doing sanding like this. There's no grain after the lacquer is smooth. And so as I'm going through this, you might wonder, when are you actually done? And you also notice that I said this is the first round of sanding. And so as you go and look across the grain, it is very flat. Okay, but then when you get into the light, you can still see there's some shiny areas here. Those shiny areas represent low areas of lacquer. And so I'm mentioning that this is kind of my first round of sanding. I'm going to go around the rest of the body and smooth this out. And then I'm going to let it dry and think about what I want to do. Some of these areas have enough low spots where I'm contemplating putting another couple of coats of lacquer on to see if I can add some material to the area and smooth it out. The last thing I want to do is sand through the lacquer and then I'll be in really bad shape and I'll have to respray the whole thing. And so I'm definitely going to take my time on this. But for now, I'm going to go around and do the sides and the back, see how they look, and then decide if I'm going to spray more coats of lacquer. After going through the back, I'm definitely going to spray some more coats. It's just not where I want it to be. I think what has happened is, as I was scraping the binding flush, I was actually not holding the card scraper perpendicular to the sides. And so what you end up seeing here is around the edges, you see a lot of low spots. And so I'm not sure that I can actually fill these with lacquer. It might just be too low. But I'm at least going to give it another shot. I'd rather try and respray this a few more coats, see if I can level it a bit more than to sand right through it and make a big respray have to happen. And so, of course, I don't have any of this lacquer at home, so I will have to go to the store. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish up sanding the sides, just make sure everything looks great, and then I'll let this dry for hours, maybe even till tomorrow, to make sure all the water from sanding is dry, and then go back and put some more coats on, and then I'm in for another week, I guess, while I let the second set of lacquer coats cure. Even though I'm going to go back and spray some more coats of lacquer, I am pleased on how this is turning out overall. With my 800 grit level sanding, there's definitely a great finish underneath here. The areas around all the edges that are lower just goes to show that the quality of your finish is absolutely dependent on the prep work that you put in. I thought I did a great job, keeping this flat, scraping the binding perpendicular to the sides, but the lacquer tells a different story. Same thing on the sides here. I was perhaps maybe a bit more optimistic than I should have been with the side grain. It's soaked up the lacquer a lot more than I expected. Or this was actually those areas were lower. I don't know. It definitely felt smooth when I did it. I used my orbital sander on the sides to try and keep it true to the face of the guitar. But there's a couple areas to go. I'm gonna have to go get some more cans, and so this will end up drying for at least a few hours in my house. Have to see what the weather is like outside today before I decide to spray any. And I guess I'm going to keep putting on coats. I mean, I got about 5 coats per can. I do plan on building some more guitars in the future, so I'll probably buy more than one can. But I think I'll probably end up using the whole can here to see kind of what I get. Obviously, if after using a second can, if my technique hasn't been improving, and I still can't get these ridges out, then I'm going to have to sort of accept that's where I am. But the way I'm viewing the Great Guitar Build-Off is not really a competition against other people per se, but really just kind of a competition against myself. My first build, I definitely did a great job. It's a fantastic guitar. I actually play that one every day. But this one, I really want it to be a reflection of the absolute best I can do right now. And since I know this could be improved by spraying some lacquer, I'm going to do that. And I look forward to seeing how part 2 of the lacquer goes and start putting this thing together and making some noise. Thanks for watching.